Hello,
And welcome.
it's the Graveyard Girls, a true crime and mysteries podcast.
Well done.
It is.
And today is the first joint episode. Oh no, I've ruined your thing.
You not ruined it. So we have to remember we're professional. So we are very professional that we have a website, which is thegraveyardgirls.co.uk.
You can also find us on
Or Instagram. TikTok. We are trying to post more on TikTok.
Yeah, we got a little bit good at it.
Yeah. You can also email us cases if you want.
Yeah.
Which is thegraveyardgirlspod@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm losing.
You can send us things that you like and constructive criticism. If you could also rate and review us wherever you're listening right now. Yes.
So other people can find us. And if you could recommend us to people, that's also great.
Yeah. If we share, I don't know, some other posts or stories.
Yeah, on Instagram. Yep.
And thank you to everyone that has already done that for us. It's very helpful.
So this is the first week of the brand new scheduling. Setup. Thank you. So for our episode today, we're doing a joint case.
Yes.
So every week now, we are every Wednesday. But some of you may or may not know, we have another podcast that's also out.
Yes.
That comes out on Friday.
Okay. Yes, something brand new.
That's Hidden in the Hollows.
And it's weird.
Just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Look
I should
for
have recorded that.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mind fuck. So if you like that sort of thing,
check it out.
Yeah, that's the thing for you.
So we are releasing 2 episodes every week, technically.
Yeah, but one's for the Graveyard Girls True Crime and Mysteries, and the other one is Graveyard Girls Hidden in the Hollows.
Yes.
So we're still all under the Graveyard Girls, and it's still us pair.
Yes.
So yeah, you have to put others.
Or is it?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
We're going to try and act with our voices.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not quite sure how that's going to come across.
I'm very excited. It's going to be very
really
awkward.
Cool because I really enjoy doing it because it's just weird.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to make sense. So anyone that's in there like, I don't get it, you're not supposed to get it.
That's how I wrote it, okay? It makes sense in the end.
Yeah, in the end. But like, we've got a few series to go, so, you know, you're going to have to just bear with us. Yeah.
It will
little bits will start to make sense.
Yes.
As the episodes roll in. But this first one is just going to be bizarre.
As it is I've based it on some of the conversations we've had.
In the past, yes. We've added notes of conversations we've had, book ideas we've had with some of the characters, and we just kind of splurged it and mixed it all together. And yeah, then regurgitated it, and that's Hidden in the Hollows.
There we go, that's what it is. So,
for our joint case.
Yes. As we said, we're doing it every Wednesday, so twice a month we are presenting a joint case together.
Yeah.
And then 1 episode a month we have an episode each where we're presenting a case to each other. I think that's how it's going.
Yeah,
yes.
So we could try and go in. Some of the cases are quite big and we kind of both wanted to cover them.
Yeah.
Or it's the topic we wanted to cover.
Yeah.
So we're going into them. We're doing it joint so we can do it a bit more in depth. I think we enjoyed the joint cases when we did the witch trials.
Yeah.
But I also really liked it when we had it right at the beginning, our very first 2 episodes, where we presented a case to each other. I like that bit where we do something together.
So we're trying to do it the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mix it up. So that's where this is coming from. So hopefully you'll like these new joint episodes.
Hopefully. And hopefully you like the new artwork. Because we have new artwork. I'm quite proud with that. I like the little textured bit.
Ooh, there we go.
So for today's case, I'm going to look at the perpetrator, their background, and whether psychology comes into the crimes, such as the ones we're going to cover today. Because I'm very interested in human behavior and whether, like, we ourselves do things on purpose for a reason, or is it nature versus nurture, that type of thing, that psychology.
Your environment, does that impact it?
Exactly. And, like, are you raised in a certain way? Will you commit murder? Or if you are raised in a different way, will you not?
Yeah.
Don't know. So, for today's case, we're going to look at the 2018 Toronto van attack.
Yes.
Now, we'll only mention the perpetrator by name a few times, as we don't want to glorify his attack as his victims are way more important than him.
Yes.
So we obviously will mention him, but we're touching on his name slightly because, like I said, do not want to glorify any of this
that he's done.
No. So this attack is I'm good.
Say that.
I will say it, for God's sake. This attack is categorized as a
Oh my God. Misogynistic. Do you want me to say the misogynistic for
yes,
you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm leaving this bit in because I can't say it. The attack is categorized as
a misogynistic
terrorism because it was motivated by revenge for perceived sexual and social rejection by women. So at the time of his arrest, the perpetrator described himself as an incel to the police and in prior social media postings, which you looked into, and described the attack as a continuation of the, quote, incel rebellion started by another self-proclaimed incel. Again, you're going to mention him. When researching this case, I found out things that pissed me off and
massively pissed me off.
Pissed you off as well. Yeah. So I agree with the judge, Superior Court Justice Anne Malloy on this case when she says she doesn't want to justify him. She also calls him Mr. Doe.
Okay.
So I was just like, in my head, I was like, from the start, I'm not going to mention his name. And then when I researched and saw that she was against saying his name, I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to stick with her. So yes, so off you go.
Off I go.
Off you go.
Okay. So it's also classed as a domestic terrorist vehicle ramming attack because he obviously attacked his victims by ramming them with a vehicle. And it occurred on the 23rd of April 2018. So the attack started on Yonge Street through to North York City Centre Business District in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He was a lone driver by the name of Alec Manassian. He targeted pedestrians, mostly women, killing 11, injuring 15. The incident is the deadliest in Canadian history. 9 of the 11 deceased victims are women. He left the van reportedly attempting to commit suicide by a cop, and an arrest was made on him at 1:32 p.m. So, obviously, as we already know, the attack was characterised as a misogynistic terrorism because he claimed he'd done it out of revenge of social and sexual rejection by women, which is where the incel part comes in.
It's so frustrating.
Yes. So he's claimed that he did it. The attack was a continuation of incel rebellion. He pled not criminally responsible to 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder, but he was found guilty on all counts in March 2021, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He killed his victims by mounting the pavement and striking the victims with his van. So 9 of the 11 died at the scene, and later that day a 10th person would die. Now obviously we know when it first went to court it was 10 counts of first degree murder. He did actually kill 11 because the 11th person died much later on the 28th of October 2021 after being paralysed from the neck down and never leaving the hospital. So he has actually killed 11 because this person's obviously died as the result of their injuries sustained in the attack. So in order to bring him to a stop, a single police officer, which was Constable Ken Lamb, intercepted the damaged van. He confronted the suspect driver, who was standing near an open driver's side door. During the confrontation, Alex repeatedly drew his hand from the back of his pocket and pointed a dark coloured object towards the officer as if it was a pistol.
Yeah, I saw this, and it was just like, I think he wanted to die death by suicide, because then it's like he gets more notoriety, doesn't he?
And he also doesn't have to face his actions.
Yep.
So Constable Lamb then ordered him to drop to the ground. Alec tried to repeatedly provoke the officer to kill him, demanding him to be shot in the head. As the officer approached him, he soon realised that he didn't in fact have a gun, holstered up his pistol and took out his baton in order to avoid the use of unnecessary lethal force. Which
I do have in my notes as well. I thought that was very clever because especially if it was in America, they would just shoot. And they don't shoot to injure, they shoot to kill. Yeah. And it's like, you need to de-escalate. You need to punish this man for his crime.
I think, and like I said, it also helps. It also gives them that thing of, oh shit, he's not going to... I think effectively that's what makes him give up, because he thinks, oh, he's not going to shoot me now. So it's like, I'm not going to get away with it in the way I wanted. So obviously, as a result, he drops the objects from his hand and surrendered. He was then arrested at 1:32 p.m. His victims aged from between 22 to 94, so massive span of ages.
Yeah, and we're choosing not to name them because we don't want them to be associated any more with him than what they already are.
Their own right. So obviously, Natasha's going to mostly go into Alec and what his life was like, but I just want to briefly touch on some of the social media aspects of it. And obviously he basically dated shortly before the beginning of the attack, so this was literally hours before. He made a post on Facebook, and in it he writes, Private Missan Infantry 00010, wishing to speak to Sergeant 4 Chan please, C23249161, and that is later identified as a military identification number.
Yes, that he had for like a few months because he quit.
Yeah, he went into... he applied to go into the military, but he was released before training because it was said that he didn't adapt to military life.
Yeah, I do talk about that. I thought he kind of did it in a way that like military men, like uniform is attractive to some females.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this like another way that he could try and like find a woman?
Yeah, well then after he's written the bit, so for the Sergeant 4 Chan, that was someone within the incel groups that have been made, was it Reddit?
Yes.
And he ends his Facebook post with, the incel rebellion has already begun. We will overthrow the Chads and Staces. All hail the supreme gentleman Elliot Roger, who we will also discuss because he also mounts an attack on someone a few years before, which is an incel attack. So it's basically, Alec is claiming this as a continuation of Elliot's original incel rebellion.
And it's like, it's so fucking annoying that they're like the gentleman attack. If you were a gentleman, one, you wouldn't have to do this. Two, you wouldn't have to say you're a gentleman.
No. It's like the nice guys have to tell you they're nice guys.
I got very angry researching this because some of my notes, I'm like, fucking this. I got so angry. Like, it's so frustrating. So yeah, as you said, the police identified him. I don't want to say his name. So, and he had no prior criminal history. Both his parents immigrated to Canada. His father is from Armenia and his mother is from Iran. Again, I don't really want to name his parents because in a way they're kind of victims of his behavior. Yeah. I don't think anything that they did contributed to anything that he did.
No.
So I was looking into their family and his childhood. I stumbled upon an article on thespec.com. So I'm going to quote from that. So neighbors said that the Manassians kept to themselves, but that their private nature wasn't unusual in suburban middle-class neighborhood as of the busy families. We are very quiet and self-contained community, said Wesley Mack, who's 77 and lives nearby. People are busy with their lives. We see each other come and go, but we are not block party type of community. Though he doesn't know the family well, Mack observed that he seemed to have trouble making eye contact on his solitary neighborhood walks and that he appeared to require extra care and attention from his parents. Mack said it was clear that he had special needs. It's a family that has struggles with this situation for a long time, he says.
Okay.
Now, the special needs bit links to what annoys me about this case.
Yeah, and me. Massively.
Yes, because obviously it's used as a defense.
Yeah.
So I don't think this contributed to the pathetic reason that he committed this crime at all.
No.
I don't think he could blame autism on this. You cannot.
No.
You cannot.
I have very strong views about that one.
Yeah, I it's like people who blame their behavior on something that has nothing to do with that. Like, what's that saying? Like, behavior doesn't excuse the reason behind something. I can't remember that. I've said this saying to you before and I can't remember what it is.
Off the top of my head.
It makes sense. And it's like, yeah, actions don't...
Behavior doesn't excuse your actions?
Something like that. I don't know. It was really... I couldn't find the quote that I was thinking of, but like, it doesn't... What he did
It's not linked with his disability. It might, not. In certain aspects, have an impact on it, but he can't blame the autism for this attack.
No. And I'm going to continue with the article. So his former classmates at Thornlea Secondary School in Thornhill described him as, quote, not overly social and harmless.
Yeah, I've read that.
It's always the same. He attended a special needs class for students within the autism spectrum while at this school. So in high school, he would fidget, twitch, and tap his head, hug his arms around his body, meow like a cat, and sometimes spit on himself and repeat the phrase, "I'm afraid of girls." I think that was like thrown in after the fact.
That last bit about I don't like the girls. The rest of it tallies up, but I feel like then this is just someone that's been interviewed, like they've asked to give an interview.
Yeah, this is like, I think the neighbour was just like, I don't know my neighbours. Like, I've projected certain things onto them because I think they're weird. Yeah. But if like if they did something and the news people came around, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, there's all this.
I knew that.
It's like the neighbour who's like, yeah, he was a bit weird on his walks. Yes, but you don't know him enough to like give a background into him. But also,
if you look at what he did kind of mention, that's classic things like linked with autism in terms of the eye contact. So it's not even something weird. That's just something that a large number of autistic people do. But it also doesn't make you a murderer.
He's just trying to connect to the crime, and it's like, you have nothing to do with it. Just because he's autistic does not mean he murdered these women. Well, wanted to murder women, but he chose this way to go about it.
Yeah.
So yes, that kind of annoyed me. So in late 2017, he enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces, which you mentioned was his code thing. And then he requested voluntary release after 16 days of recruit training. A senior military official said that he wasn't adapting to military life, and that there was no red flags and that nothing would point to anything like this. And again, I mean, if it's so obvious...
Yeah, someone should have picked it up before. Exactly. He should have been aggressive towards the other people. Yeah. Or like showing signs of... Or other women on the base, although I don't know whether they would have been split up, men and women. I don't know how it works.
But yeah, like I said, I don't know if this is true, so I'm speculating, but I thought he might have used going into the army as an excuse to find girls. Because if you think about it, military people marry young. Yeah. So like, I think there might be more opportunity for him to find women. I'm just speculating. Yeah. I just think he might have find more ways to find more people. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. So on the 23rd of April, he committed the attacks you spoke about. And it was the Incel Rebellion, or the Beta Uprising, or the Beta Male Uprising. It's so fucking annoying. I got so angry.
It's just the most pointless thing. It's like the most pathetic excuse someone can come up with something. Yeah. You know when someone gives you a really pathetic excuse and you're like, it's not even an excuse. This is how I feel about this.
It's like, if these men were so-called nice guys, one, you wouldn't have to say you're a nice guy.
Yeah, I hate it when people do that. You'll know who I'm referring to, but when one person I say, I'm a nice guy, like girls always moan about like they don't like this guy because they're shit, and go, but I'm a nice guy, but they don't like me. And I'm like, if you have to keep telling me everything you're doing is nice and how nice you are, you're not that nice.
Yes, you shouldn't
I don't need to be told.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to tell me you're nice because you're being nice. So I will give you something in return for that. Yeah. That is not why you should be nice. You should be nice and kind because that's who you are. Yeah. It's like the most attractive person in the world. Shittiest personality. Yes, the looks might attract you to them to begin with, but as soon as you know what they're like...
Yeah, it's fucking off.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... It's like... It's not your physical appearance that puts people off. It's the way you are. It's the way you act.
Yeah, you could be what's classed as not physically attractive, but if you've got the most amazing personality in the world, you'll get someone.
Exactly.
Because on a whole, yes, there is a level of physical attraction... But on a whole, most people will pick personality over looks.
Yeah. Because, you can look at someone, they're nice to look at, but then, like, you can't actually have a conversation with that person. What are you getting out of that relationship? Yeah, nothing. They look nice. Yeah, but they're a bit shit. Everything else, aren't they? their logic doesn't. I hate when it's like, oh, I've been nice, so you need to be nice back to me.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
No.
You should treat people how you want to be treated,
Yes.
but you shouldn't expect that they will treat you back the same way.
Exactly. Do not expect to have what you expect back. Just be nice, and then you never know. Don't just
Probably
be
get further, yeah.
Exactly. So the attack lasted 7 minutes, which obviously isn't very long, but if you're in that situation, it feels like a very long time.
I know, it's like, I don't really like to think about it, but at the same time, those victims that did survive, and the other ones injured, like, that must have felt like an absolute fucking lifetime waiting for emergency services to get there.
I know.
And, like, what do you do as someone standing by as well? Like,
I don't know.
Because, like, I know your instinct is probably to go over and help the people, but then you're thinking, like, is someone else going to come back? Like, is there going to be another one?
Yeah. Is the van rigged? Is it going to explode?
Yeah. Yeah, because I suppose at that point they didn't know whether it was like a terrorist, like a bomb attack.
Also, like, was it a genuine, like, attack, or did someone, like, fall asleep at the wheel, or did they have an attack at the wheel? You don't know if it was a genuine...
medical reason.
Yeah, or someone did it on purpose.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Glad I've not found myself in that situation.
Yeah, I always wonder what I'd do in that situation.
I think you'd like to be like, oh yeah, I'll just go over and help the other person. But then it's easy to say that. I think you'd probably have a bit of a lapse where you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I think it'd be worse if you're the only person there, because I think I'd then go into a bit of a panic, because I'd be like, I know what I'm technically supposed to do. I'm supposed to, like, call emergency services to help the person, but also I'd be like, can someone else deal with this, please? Because I don't know what to do.
There's this theory, and it's like, if you're the only one there to witness the thing, you're more likely to help than if there's multiple people.
Yeah,
because everyone else will assume the other person will help. So then, therefore, no one helps. So if you're in that situation, you have to point out to someone, it's like, you in the red dress, I need help. Not just like, I need help to everyone.
Yeah. Because
you have to, like, make a connection with someone, because one person might help you, but if there's multiple, no one will help you.
I think it's hard now as well with the whole social media thing. People like to gather around with phones and video things rather than actually helping.
Yeah.
And then they want to be like, oh my God, this was so terrifying. I witnessed this today. And I'm like, yeah, but did you actually do anything?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's only so many people that can ring through to emergency service. You might have, like, multiple calls.
Yeah.
And, like, if 1,000 people all of a sudden rang in, it's not really going to necessarily help. But I also don't think standing on the roadside videoing it is helpful either.
No, it's like that, I forget the woman's name, but that woman who recorded the murder of George Floyd, everyone was against her for recording it and not stepping in. And it's like, they're police doing it to him. She can't go against police officers, because then she's being attacked. She did the right thing of recording it so the whole world could see what they did.
There's a time and a place, isn't there?
Yes.
You've got to know when you're just filming it for your own thing for a social media post and a bit of attention, and when you're doing it to genuinely help the person. I mean, no, ultimately, like, he died, but she did it. It could then be used as evidence against the officers. Yeah. So that was for the right reasons.
Yeah. Like, there was multiple people around him. It's the police officers in the wrong there. They should not be doing what they were doing. So anyway, back to
the case.
So as you mentioned, he was arrested. So on the day after the attack on April 24th, he appeared without a lawyer before the Ontario Court of Justice in Toronto. And then he was charged with the 10 counts of first-degree murder and the 13 counts of attempted murder, which you said. And then as his trial began in November 2020, he then got a lawyer, which brought in the very annoying defense.
Yes. I don't know how much of it he brought that defense in, or whether his defense suggested it to him as a defense, because I feel like the defense lawyers would have gone with it.
This is why I didn't mention the lawyer's name. So yes, he had already admitted to planning and carrying out the attack and pleaded not criminal responsible for the 10 counts of first-degree murder and then 16 counts of attempted murder. And as you mentioned, it was his, quote, autistic way of thinking was severely distorted. Despite him not technically being psychotic. That's the thing that pissed me off.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't cover it, so I would mention it. So, like I said, that is not the reason why he committed this attack. It's because he couldn't get what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy with it. It's so
and
fucking
autism
annoying.
Doesn't make you psychotic.
No, it doesn't. It's like they're trying to, like, this is the I forget the Autism Society's name, but they were like, this is just going to put even more negative.
Yeah, and there was a lot of this after the thing, which really annoyed me, especially when reading up on it, because, I mean, I don't know if it's slightly different for me, because obviously I already have a lot of links to autism things, so when I typed it in, that was probably one of the first links it made. But the first thing it was crying out was like, he did it, an autistic man did it, and I was like, hang on, like, the autism is completely irrelevant in this case.
I didn't, when I was researching it, it was like further into the research that it was like, he's autistic, this is why I did it. And I was like, absolutely not. That is not right.
No, I just don't. It's really hard to explain. There are certain aspects of autism which not necessarily impair your judgment, but because you don't look at things exactly the same way, you might not necessarily realise the severity of your actions. However, this was something pre-planned. This was not like spur of the moment sort of thing. And at the age that he was, he will have a very good indication of right and wrong. He might have struggled in terms of getting across his point and his communication due to his autism, and same with the whole socialising side.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because I don't want to say like autistic people can't socialise, because they can, because I can. I find it incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And it depending on who, I suppose it's really hard to categorise it. Some people that are autism probably won't ever form a long-standing relationship with people because that's something they struggle with. However, there is a large portion of autistic people that do enter relationships.
Exactly.
So it depends on whereabouts you are on the spectrum, and how severe your needs are.
Yeah.
But for someone like him, I feel like he's
well adjusted enough.
Yeah.
To one, drive a car. He rented this van.
Yeah, he clearly knows the difference between right and wrong.
Yes.
His autism did not make him think. It might have had an impact mentally in his state of feeling rejected by people, because a lot of people with autism, they get it's called, oh my god, I'm thinking it's what's the thing where you get,
Wasn't it co-parent? The thing that I am.
No. Oh my god, I've wrote this down in a post before and I sent it to you. Basically, as a result of your initial disability, so like for me, obviously I'm autistic, but there's other mental illnesses that go alongside it, so things like depression and anxiety. You're not necessarily born with those, but because you struggle with your autism as you get older, so like for me, I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 20s, but obviously I've always been autistic, but it wasn't until my teenage years I obviously started to struggle with the social side, because things change and I'm very much, the way I think is it's stuck in one way, so I didn't really grow up and change in the way that other people did. So then I noticed that I was struggling socially, which obviously increases your chances of getting depression and anxiety. So there's lots of other different illnesses that coincide with autism. So you can kind of say it causes it, but it doesn't. I think it's an after effect of the way the society works.
Yeah.
I think, and especially like in my case, without being diagnosed, because obviously I had autism, there's a good chance that I possibly could have had depression or anxiety anyway, but I think more because of my autism and I couldn't necessarily adapt to a lot of social situations, or I didn't understand a lot of social situations, it puts extra pressure on you. You're constantly sort of outcasted, or there's a lot of things I genuinely didn't understand, like in terms of social cues. So you quickly then sort of get pushed out a bit, which obviously as humans, we're sociable creatures. When you can't fit in and you don't know how to do it, you're naturally going to get other mental illnesses, including like depression and anxiety. It adds all of those sort of things. So I do think he could have suffered from other mental health conditions as a side of his autism. Yeah. But I don't think that they have nothing to do with him deciding to go out. You can't use as an excuse that I decided to go out with women because I got socially rejected by them. That isn't an excuse. His autism might have made it difficult for him to socialise with women, or women might have found him weird because of some of the things he did because of his autism, but it doesn't make you...
No, because like, one, that wasn't the reason why he said he did it. He said he did it because he's an incel and he was rejected by women. You don't bring in autism after the fact because you didn't get shot by the police.
Yeah. I genuinely think the autism was brought in as an angle from the defence. Yeah. Because they saw it and they jumped on it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
It's so harmful because I think you look at it is hard because autism is a massive, it's a spectrum disorder. That's why it's called the autistic spectrum. And yes, I find it really hard. There's a lot of crimes sort of committed, and sometimes I think autism does play a part in it. And I don't know how.
But I don't think those types of crimes harm people in a way that they're murdered. They might harm them mentally. They don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they don't mean to physically hurt someone.
Yeah, they're not going in with the intention.
This was meant to harm.
Yeah. And I don't think it has anything to do with his autism.
That's why I didn't mention the lawyer's name either, because I feel like it was him who was like, oh, you've got this wrong with you. Oh, that's brilliant. And
that's it. And at the end of it, this is what I find really hard. In a weird way, I kind of have a weird admiration for defence lawyers, because there'll be a lot where you know full well that person is guilty, but you've got to try and get them off. And I think actually that must be so hard. They've got to pick something that makes the crime seem plausible. And I think that's where a lot of it is. You look at it and you think that's not an excuse, but then you look at the defence lawyer's point of view. That's probably the only angle they could go at to try and get him a reduced sentence, or, try and get him not off murder, but reduce it. Say he wasn't, I don't know, mentally capable of committing the crime. And I suppose from the defence point of view, that's the only angle they could maybe go with. So I'm not saying it's right.
True.
Because it's wrong. And in terms of media, it paints a completely wrong image of autism, because it just suggests that autistic people go around killing people because they don't like something.
Yeah. And
that's not right at all.
No, I don't. It's not right. And I think the judge doesn't agree with it either, because the one who sentenced him, Ontario Supreme Court Justice Anne Malloy, believed that he seemed to be motivated by the desire for notoriety and referred to him as Mr. Doe, as I said earlier, to avoid giving him further recognition. She wrote, "It is almost impossible to tell when Mr. Doe is lying or when he is telling the truth. Working out his exact motivation for this attack is likewise close to impossible. Nevertheless, I am inclined to accept the assessment of all that the experts that Mr. Doe did lie to the police about much of the incel motivation he talked about, and that the incel movement was not in fact a primary driving force behind the attack. So she rejected his attempt to use autism as a defense." Reading that, I was a bit confused. Was his reason for the incel attack not what she thinks? To me, he used that as the excuse, and then he brought in autism. So like you said, on March 3rd, 2021, he was found guilty on all counts. 13th of this year, he was sentenced to life in prison without no possibility of parole for 25 years. He filed for a notice of appeal the following month, arguing, among other things, that the trial judge misapprehended expert evidence and made unreasonable findings. No, you murdered these people, and your justification of it. Yeah. It was planned.
It was premeditated.
He
built that up over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think as well, he's got the whole thing of as well, the people who talk to are very toxic as well. I think that fed into it, and I think he went down one track with something. He built it up, and to him, he justified those actions in his own head, using that as an excuse.
People who are like incels and they're like, oh, but I'm a nice guy. It's weirdly fascinating. I don't know.
I just don't get it.
I'm subscribed. I follow the Reddit tag nice guys.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, this is so weird. Just because they're all the same.
But have you also noticed how pathetic some of the reasons are?
They're always really pathetic. They're always the same. And you're just like, for God's sake.
I just think... And it's like they're always the victim. They've never done anything wrong. They can't accept... And like I said, most of it is... women are not interested in them, not because they might not physically be attractive, but also because they have no personality. And you're just incredibly unfortunate if you're not attractive and also have no personality. Yes, that's very unfortunate, but that's where you need to change as a person. You need to do something about that. Maybe you should become interested in things that other people are interested in. And I'm sure a lot of these have hobbies. Explore that and integrate with people more.
Find what you like and find more of it. Don't just find other people's hobbies.
Yeah, and claim them to be yours. I don't get it. I've had it a lot where I suppose it's hard to say, but when I was growing up, no one was interested in what I'm interested in. And it's not until you become an adult that you realise there's more people that are interested in things. Yeah. You just have to maybe go a bit of time by doing things by yourself.
Yeah.
And then you just adapt it. I just got to the point where I was like, well, I don't really like spending time on my own now. Like, I didn't fit in with the people that I was forced in with in school.
So you just get on with it. I think the thing is that, like, they're so used to, like, oh, but I'm lonely, but I want this, I want that. They're so focused in, so it's like it builds. Yeah. They don't focus on what they like anymore. So now they're just like this weird circle of like, I'm a nice guy, why is no one liking me? I'm a nice guy.
And
it's
a
like,
lot of them,
just
they
get
might
over
not
that.
they might not be intending to be horrible to anyone. They might genuinely try to make friends. They just don't necessarily know how to go the right way about it. But then they continue down the victim line. Well, I've always been bullied, so like I'm always going to be bullied, rather than just getting over it or moving forward or trying to find people that they would fit in with. I think sometimes there's a lot of as well, not that I don't like saying that people are punching above their weight, but sometimes there's people you just wouldn't naturally fit in with, or if you go with that group, you're going to constantly be trying to be something that you're not. So instead of trying to achieve that, why not hang around with people that you would get on with, that you could be yourself with? Then your self-confidence grows. Then in the meantime, you might then end up mingling into these other groups because your self-confidence has improved. Aspects of your personality will come out and you're able to, I don't know, better carry yourself. And then those people, then there's other groups that you might have liked but wouldn't have necessarily socialised with you. They might realise, oh, actually this person's quite interesting. And then they come into your group because they're interested in you as a person.
Exactly. I think some people, especially the so-called nice guys, they go in with the intention of like romantic feelings straight away. No, you need to build a friendship first. There's no way you can like build anything more if you don't have the foundation of friendship first.
And they also live in a very like fairy tale land. And like very childish as well, I think.
And it's like, I see it in my head this way, so it's going this way. I've planned it out. This is how the script's going to work. This is how it's going to be. And then life's not like that.
Yeah, and when it doesn't, it's hard.
But like, I fancied people who are way above my...
Yeah.
And like...
You either just do nothing about it and then move on with it. Or you make a move and then possibly get rejected. More than likely get rejected. But if you get rejected, you move on. And if not, good for you. I just... Yeah, I find it really hard.
This is what, like, human behaviour and psychology fascinates me. Because, like, why are some people the way they are? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think we're going to be able to answer that question, Natasha.
You're already in, like, a shitty situation. So why make yourself worse by continuing?
And it's like you drag yourself down as well. Like we always have, like we all have moments where we're a bit like, I feel shit about myself, like I don't like this and I don't like that, and it gets you down. But then there comes a point when you've got to know, and I know people do struggle with getting themselves out of that hole.
Yeah.
However, ultimately, yes, you can ask people for help in certain aspects.
You've also got to...
you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because the more you either expect people to do it for you, or you expect other people to change, you're never going to see that you're doing anything wrong, and things aren't going to get better for you because people either get pissed off with you and fuck off because they've tried to help you and they don't think you're making any effort back, or like I said, you're not going to fit in at all because you're not actually doing anything to be part of that friendship.
Yeah, that's why, like I said, human behavior fascinates me. I think we're all very individual, but then we're all on the outside looking in, we're all very similar.
Everyone's got their own thing, but then you look at the world and how many people it is. There's always going to be someone else out there that's like you or likes the same things. And we're fortunate now that we've got things like social media, so you can meet up with people that are nowhere physically near you but are interested in the same things as you, and you can build a group. And then before you know it, you'll realise that there probably is someone down the road that actually likes the same as you. You just wouldn't have met them otherwise, and then you meet them through the social group. Then, like I said, people start all sorts of things, don't they? They start like fan groups, and then you just build it up, and then you do it that way. I don't get this whole thing of, I don't like the whole victim thing, like it's always woe is me.
Because I think they're so like, oh, they see this one person, oh, this is their dream person, and then that blows up in their face. They see another person, that's their dream person. It's like,
it's like as soon
they're
as you
very,
see
very
them,
different. Which is your dream person? It cannot be just looking at someone that's your dream person.
Yeah.
It cannot.
But I think that also comes down to a lack of socialisation.
Yeah. Because then it's also like, how dare you judge them on their looks, and yet you won't accept that they're kind of judging you on your looks. You're not seeing below the surface. You're just like, oh, they're really pretty, I want to be with them.
Yeah, and there's also that thing of you're judging them like they're not nice, they're not doing this, like they won't do that, but you're also doing exactly the same by saying they're shit because they won't be my friend.
That's what,
I'm just, it's like
like
you've literally just done the same thing.
Like I said, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting behaviour. I don't understand that you're like, you're the victim, but you're also the perpetrator at the same time.
Yeah. But they'll only ever see themselves as the victim.
Yeah. It's like, I've tried to explain it to some people. It's like, no, I don't think you could do anything to harm me, but you have the potential to do so.
Yeah.
Because you're not listening to anything that I'm and other people are saying.
That's a big one that gets me, when multiple other people warn this person of their actions and the negative impact that it's having.
Yeah.
And yet they continue to ignore it, and they make up their more excuses as to why those other people are bad, because they've told them something they effectively don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And then it just spirals into a thing, and it's like that person is never going to be wrong. And then ultimately what happens is all those people then end up ditching that person, because there's only so much you can take.
Yeah.
And only so much you can help a person. But then because that person hasn't changed, they then also lose that group of people. They're then again on their own, and it's like, well, society's bad, they did it. They don't accept that maybe something they did was wrong. I don't know. It's very strange. I really, with this case, like I said, as soon as it came up with the autism links, I really didn't like that.
Yeah, I had no idea this had anything to do with this case until I was researching. I was like, oh no. I was like, shall we do it? And I was like, oh, we've already done the research. But then I was like, hopefully you've not looked at that bit, and I would just be like, yeah, there's some bits I didn't like.
Oh no, it was one of the first things that flagged up me. I don't know if it's like one of those things of when Google search me and looked at stuff. Obviously I've got lots of links with things with autism, so I don't know whether that's why it popped up as one of the first things. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, what's the excuse going to be here? Like, I wondered how they were going to turn it. I didn't know if they were going to say, because it's really hard, isn't it, with autism, because it's such a spectrum. Some people generally do have like massive learning difficulties, so there's cases where they generally don't understand what they're doing. But I think the way his was, he probably struggled day to day, but I don't think his was so severe that he couldn't socialise at all, and that he didn't understand at least some of his social interactions. Because like for me now, like there's still massive ones I massively miscuse with people, and especially now when I look back on ones of teenagers, I'm like, oh, that's what happened.
Oh, when I'm trying to talk to someone, I'm like,
but that's it. I missed it at the time, but on a whole, for me, like things are good or bad, so I can tell when someone's getting like really angry and pissed off. I'm like, oh, okay, like now's the time to stop.
I'm like, Amelia, go check that thing. No, go now. And you're like,
but it's some of the more subtle ones that other people that aren't autistic, they would just naturally pick up on. And sometimes you just got to be a bit blunt. And I think that's the same for a lot of autistic people. Yeah. But at the same time, I couldn't ever justify killing someone. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't be like, no. That would be like me, like, I don't particularly get on with a lot of guys. I've always had a lot of issues with other women. But I'm not going to go around and start killing all the women and go, it's because women are horrible and women aren't my friends. So, do you know what I mean? Like, it'd be the most pathetic excuse. It's not even an excuse. It's just, you couldn't think of a reason.
It's weird logic. It's like this episode, I wanted it to be like weird human behavior, and then it also ended up being like, autism isn't like this. It doesn't cause this. And I was like, okay. This ended up being more in depth, more interesting than I thought it'd be.
It's just like I said, I just don't get how they used it as an excuse. I generally do think it did come from the defence as an angle they tried to point it at, but the negative impact that had on a whole, I think it did a hell of a lot more damage. It's maybe not so much over here in the UK because it wasn't a massive case here, but especially in America at the time, I'd bet there would have been a lot of autistic people that would have struggled around that time, because there would have been a lot of people that would have moved away from them. And it also, those people that don't really understand autism, it would have painted a very negative image and a wrong image of what autism is, because there's a lot of people, even now, when I mention it, people are like, I don't even know what that is. And you can't define it because it is such a broad spectrum of I don't know what you want to categorise it as, but it is a disability.
It's not a disability, Amelia, if you talk to some people. No,
it's not a disability. It's hard. It is a disability, and it's
on the fringe.
Yeah, it can impact the way you are. You can to me, I don't see it as a disability. I just think differently. It doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't mean I can't do something. I just approach it in a different way.
I met you before your diagnosis. I don't think I've treated you any different after your diagnosis.
I think those people that have actually bothered to get to know me, it's a case of they just sort of accepted that's the way I was before anyway. And I know I've had it in the past, especially in my later teens, when there was other people that they'd mentioned it to me, because before I got my diagnosis, there was quite a few people that did ask me, was I autistic? And it's because they'll either have a brother that's autistic or another family member that's autistic. And to them, it was like strikingly obvious, but they live with it day in, day out. And then there'll be other people that have absolutely no idea. And I think it's just a case of, it's whether that person can tolerate me as a whole. It does make a difference, because it's like, you might know someone with a certain disability, but just because you know they've got a disability doesn't mean you're going to be friends with them now. Do you know what I mean? You accept the person for a person, don't you? Yeah. There'll be people that don't like me, and it's not that they don't like me because of my autism. They just don't like me as a person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Everyone has a reason to not like someone else. That's perfectly fine. No one's going to love everyone, are they? No, they're not.
Exactly.
It's
just how you can. Like I said, there probably is quite a few quirks to my personality, or things that I think I'm very. Well, I'm always very blunt, or I'm told of like, that was either very blunt or that was a bit aggressive, Amelia. And it's not necessarily it's aggressive. It's, I don't have a filter, so what's in my head comes out my mouth. And whereas I think a lot of other people think, oh, I can't say that in that way because that might hurt someone's feelings. I'll think about it afterwards. Like, if I genuinely upset someone, I will apologise afterwards. But at the time, that filter bit in the middle, I'm thinking what I'm saying, and I'm just going to say it, because I've also got that awkward thing of, as a child, I started like, honesty is the best policy. And it turns out honesty is the best policy until it's brutally honest, and then you're not allowed, you have to bullshit.
If that person wants to hear that truth, I mean.
But that's how I don't get it. For me, I don't get the whole thing. It's either it is or it isn't. You can't be like, yeah, you have to tell the truth, but only weird. Some of the times in this situation, on this day, when it's this temperature, and you're with this person. Like, that's
probably why kids are better than us. If they don't like something, they tell you straight away.
That's why, as well, a lot of people think of autistic people as being childish, because we've got that thing of like, I'm just going to say it how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat. You know, like when you're a child, because this is what I really struggle with as an adult. As a child, you know, if you didn't want to be friends with someone, you just go, I don't want to talk to you. And that was it, you turn around and walk off. I can't do that now as an adult, because everyone goes, you can't say that, Amelia. I go, but why not? They're annoying me and I don't want to speak to them anymore. So I've just said I don't want to talk to you anymore, and then walk off.
The adult version of that is what, like a dirty eye roll?
Yeah, or like now, weird people do this weird thing where they'll tolerate it for a bit, and then it really annoys them, and then they have to go off and tell everyone they didn't like it. Like, why don't you just walk away? If it's really bothering you that much, just say, I'm really sorry, I don't like this conversation. I don't like where this is going. Like, I don't want to be part of it anymore. Turn around and walk off. That was polite enough. Like, I know it's a bit abrupt and blunt.
No, but it makes sense.
But it's just like, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going.
I think maybe I should do that when my social battery wears out. I'm like, I'm done now.
Sometimes you just think, I've done it before. Sometimes it's probably come out a bit worse than it should, but there's been other times where I sat down and I think, I can't handle this anymore. So I just go, I'm done with this now, and I've got up and walked off.
No, you've never done that with me.
No, because I like you. But
oh, got Ralph.
No, I like you. I think it depends who I'm with. There's some people like I have to really hold it in, and that's the whole side of the whole autism masking thing, you know, where you have to not be yourself and like really hold it in. I find that really hard, especially with a group of new people.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like new social situations, because I don't understand any of the people in the group, and it's like I have to basically sit on the outside for a while and then sort of not weed my way in, but like I don't get it in new situations because I don't know the people. I don't understand when I'm supposed to interject in the conversation. Like, at what point am I supposed to speak? How much am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? At what point do I stop? Whereas with people that you get to be friends with, they're either probably a bit more willing to say, right, shut up now, you're speaking too much, or they'll just accept that that's you. And then, I don't know, you just naturally, you form a conversation, don't you?
I know. I think it kind of depends on the person, but I tend to be the most shy in the interaction, unless that person is more shy than me. And then I'm like, oh, I need to like bring them out. Otherwise, this is very awkward.
Well, this is it, because it's weird, because I think when I first knew you, like, you were quiet and you didn't speak. But then I'm thinking, is that because I didn't speak to you?
No, I'm just shy.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, even then when we first met, you were still quite quiet in the group. But then I don't know if that's because we were with Leanne, and Leanne's very loud. And I'm also very loud, so maybe you just didn't get a chance to speak and we didn't realise.
Probably. No, I was speaking, you just never heard me.
And then I think, yeah, as we've sort of done more like now, like I think you could chat along for ages. I say you talk a lot more now, but I don't know if that's because I've been conscious about how much you talk and I kind of let you talk now. Or I try to let you talk.
I don't know. It does take me a little while to be like myself with people.
Yeah.
So maybe that.
Maybe. I'm just...
See, human behaviour is strange.
I don't get it. I just try to... I've got to the point now I can't hold it in anymore. I spent all my teenage years and like my early 20s trying to hold it in because I was supposed to be a certain way, and I think I've clogged it up so much that now I've effectively been given verbal diarrhea.
It comes out now.
Yeah, and now I can't stop, and I also don't have the politeness anymore, I don't think. Like, don't get me wrong, I try to be polite to people, but there's just some situations where I can't hold it in anymore. I spent too many years of being nice, but then it's not done me any favours. It's landed me in more shit, so now I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to avoid the situation altogether. I'm either going to scare them off, or I'm going to make it that they don't want to talk to me again, then I don't have to deal with that interaction, which is probably not the way to go about it, but it is also incredibly effective. It just works.
That's the way to do it.
If you can't get away, then you've got to make them go away.
Okay, Amelia, go away.
Okay, Natasha. Do you know what I mean?
Sure ended that.
Yeah. I've gone now. I'm going home. You upset me. I thought you were my friend.
I am. It's just my battery ran out.
Okay.
But see what I mean? Human behaviour is very interesting.
It is. Maybe we just have to find people that get us before we understand it. Like, you know, like now, like we're more analysing it, but maybe we wouldn't have as much before.
What?
Because, like, you know...
What are you on about?
You know, in terms of human behaviour, like,
What do you
we
mean?
just
What
in
do you
our own
mean,
thoughts,
get
like,
us?
that's weird. But then when you spend more time with people that are like you understand yourself a bit more, but also other people, because you can discuss it with the other person. Because before you're just stuck in your head with your own thoughts. You think, God, that's weird, I don't understand that. But then when you make a friendship group with people that are like you, one, you find things that each other likes, but then you also like, yeah, did you find that weird? And then everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so glad she found that weird, because I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Oh, like when I had to be like, this is a mental note I need to tell you about later. This is fucking weird. So you're saying nice guys need friends?
Yeah.
So then they won't end up murdering people. But they might end up in a weird cult thing where they're like...
It's not...
In a way, you need friends from different circles, I think. I think that's the way the world would work. You can't just have friends of like all these people, single ethnicity. You cannot, because that's not how the world is.
But also you can't not socialise and then say... No one's socialising with you. You will always have negative experience, but no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Even you look at people in what would have been typically categorised as a popular group, right? Even all of those at some point have struggled with something. Half of them are probably being fake because they think that's what they have to do to go in the group.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing of, I think people go that what would be classed as the weird group or the low group or the geek group, whatever you want to call it. Initially they're seen as the bottom of the pecking order.
They're the nicest ones.
But there's no pecking order, because you look,
even
within the most popular, there is people in that what would be classed as a popular group that are so paranoid, so stressed, so upset with what they are. They're also half of them are lying to themselves about who they really are. There's no group where everything is perfect.
No, see, I am very much emo, and I had my strict group of friends was like the emo crowd. But I had friends in every other group. I wasn't I can't.
What class as a floater.
Oh, you're a floater.
I was a floater because I never like had a best friend.
Yeah.
And I never had one group of friends because I didn't really fit in. I think, like I said, I was on the sort of outside, and I'd have some people that I'd hang around with for a few weeks, and then someone else one day would speak to me about something, and I'd probably then wander off with them on break, and then they'd then be with their group of friends, so I sort of float in, but. In terms of school, I didn't do anything with any of these groups of people outside of school. So I just floated between groups of people within school, and then outside of school, it was me and horses, and there was like two other horsey girls. So I guess you could kind of say we're friends. Like we didn't, besides going down the tables, we never communicated with each other other than that. We didn't go to any of the same school. And outside of horses, we didn't communicate. Like the horse meeting up on a Sunday morning to ride horses was the only time we spoke to each other. And that was it. Do you know what I mean? So none of those groups ever really merged together, and I didn't really fit in a group.
Yeah.
And then obviously I started work, and I was like, I wasn't really planning on staying there that long, so I was like, I don't need to make any friends here because I'm here to work.
Same.
And then I was like, I'm here a bit longer, I should probably make the effort to actually speak to people now. So I started doing that a little bit, and then I started to find people that were interested in things that I was interested in, and then you came along. And I was like, I said, it was going to go one or two ways. You're either going to be the bitchy popular girl, or you're going to be like, no, she's quiet, but she's actually all right.
Thank you.
And luckily for me, you were quiet and all right.
I came along, and I'm the best.
The greatest ever. But yeah, no, it is. But then I look at how it is now. Like, I probably wouldn't have hung around either you or Leanne in school. Not because I wouldn't have liked you with people, but it's just not a group I would have. I don't know. Well, maybe I would have. Maybe one of two of you at some point floated in and out of a group, but I don't think.
Me and Leanne would have been in the same group.
I'd like to see like aspects of it, yes, but I also don't know as though I would have had the confidence. I would have thought Leanne's really loud, and I don't think in school, like I'm loud. No, like me and Leanne bounce off each other quite well, but I think in school I wouldn't have had the confidence to start the thing. She would have had to drag me in, I think.
I don't think Leanne was confident in school either. Which
is why I also think if you put us all back in school, we wouldn't have been friends, because we would have all been awkward, and as much as we probably all wanted to be friends with each other, we're like, no one of us has got to ask the other one first, I can't do it, and I'm like, no, you go, and then I'm like, please someone ask to be my friend.
I would have been like, I think you're really cool.
Yeah, you see one thing like, oh, that's really nice, and if the person goes, oh yeah, do you like this, then I'd be like, yeah, I can talk for hours. But until someone made that move, I'd just sat there like, I really like this person, I really want to be their friend, but I also don't know how to ask them to be their friend, because if I just go, can I be your friend, when you've got beyond primary school, it just sounds weird, so you just don't say it.
See, I was like, I had my moments of like confidence. If I wanted to be someone's friend, I'm like, I just go talk to them, even though I'm like really shy. But I'm like,
I don't know how I did socialising. I look back now and I think, I don't know how I did. I think it's just more if someone says, oh, do you want to come and do this? And I'm like, okay. And then half the time I was like, I don't even really know if I want to do this. I don't think I like it.
I think every so often someone would adopt me, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what happened with me. And then, I just sort of sat there. And half the time I wasn't even involved in the conversation. I just kind of sat there. I bet now there's people listening back. If there's anyone that's in school that I get, she was a fucking weirdo.
That weirdo Amelia. That horse girl Amelia.
She was just weird. She was just there. Maybe I was a lurker.
I don't think I'm trying to remember. Leanne said something about once before we started being friends, and she was like, the one with the horses, and I was like, okay, I know which one you mean, because you have like really long hair like horse, so it's kind of obvious you have horses.
Yeah, I think in the group, like I was gonna say the girl group,
and I was like, I don't know who has horses, and then I looked at you and I was like, yeah, she has horses. You have horses.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
human
weird.
behavior is weird. So nice guys, you are not nice guys.
No, go make some friends. Learn to socialise.
Learn what you like. Stop obsessing with people that you aren't with.
Yeah, stop trying to be friends with people that you're never going to fit in. Find a group of people that you do like and that you share hobbies with. Go and do the hobbies with that person. You'll then in yourself feel much better. You'll have a good time. Your confidence will boost. And then you might be able to branch out to other people that you wouldn't have necessarily socialised with, because you have boosted your own confidence instead of playing the victim all the time.
And that's how you do it. And on that note,
we should probably end this episode.
Yes, because my stomach is rumbling.
Okay.
So in the meantime, keep creeping.
And we'll keep digging.